Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2. I'm TJ.
I'm Kent.
And have we got a special treat for you guys tonight? Joining us on the Sling'N podcast, we have the one and only John Patton from the Gun Collective, and of course, the ever so lovely Genevieve Jones from Beyond the Unknown. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic now that we spent, 20 minutes trying to get this thing unscrewed.
Dude, what a ride we're on already. I feel like we're closer because we've been on a journey together.
Technology is great when it works.
You know what the downside is being the IT nerd in the family. Everyone expects me to be an expert on everything that plugs in and goes beep boop, as Kent likes to say. And that's not how it works. So
let's put on record how accurate Kent is for beep boop things. Those are key, and you definitely need to be. I get looked at as the expert around here, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Oh, you know better than me and the dog.
Yeah, the dog. We got to bring him up to speed.
The dog's probably the one who has it all figured out, to be honest.
You're right.
Yeah. How is Felix, by the way?
He's doing okay. He I don't know, something's up with his leg. He's limping a little bit, and it's been about a week, and it's getting a tad better.
Yeah.
Why are you kicking me? Am I too close? Sorry.
Yeah, you were kicking the chair.
I will turn this podcast around.
Yeah. Don't make us come back there.
Behave, children.
All right, guys. Oh. So getting down to the nuts and bolts of things, John and Genevieve, thank you guys for agreeing to come onto our podcast, and spreading the love to the dozens of followers and fans we have. But really what we wanted to do tonight, naturally there's been a lot of talk on social media and in the media in general about the gun community and who we are. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And honestly, I think Kent and I wanted to start off with really kind of to get to know John Patton better, not just the Gun Collective guy or, that friendly face that we see on YouTube all the time. But, what makes John Patton John Patton? What are the things that you like to do that, hey, maybe they're not even shooting related, maybe just things that you like to do every day-to-day stuff. So tell us about you, John. As you saw in episode 1, who the hell are you?
So I don't know. I mean, my life is pretty consumed by everything that is the Gun Collective. It does take a lot of work. I guess, obviously outside of that, Genevieve and I try to spend as much time as we can together. That's pretty damn important. And time with Felix. I am pretty open to just doing whatever. I enjoy just relaxing, having a drink, talking to people. And it's especially fun to get out and do things that are not gun specific, because that's what we do all day, every day. So that's a, I guess a change of pace. Before I got into all this, I was into cars and, I enjoy that kind of stuff. I just don't necessarily have the time or money for it, like I used to. But I think if I were to pick, oh yeah, that's the one thing that I enjoy, I'd have to say sporting plays. And it's really boring to watch. So I don't make any videos about it, but it's honestly the most fun thing that I do with guns. It's so much fun.
He said not gun related.
Well, tough. That's what they get.
No,
shotguns are technically guns.
That's true. I like ice cream. That's like proper fat kid stuff right there.
Now, I think some of the dumbest stuff that I've done, Kent, you might be able to top this one too, but probably some of the quote unquote dumbest stuff I've done has been while clay shooting. You're out on the back 40 with your family, your dad or your brothers or whatever, and you just start, hey, how many clays can you hit if I just throw them out in front of you? That's where all the experimentation starts taking place.
Well, that's where the men are separated from the boys. When you just start hucking clays and, just being ridiculous, that's when you find out how good you really are.
But safe, for the folks at home, be safe, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. For legal reasons, be safe.
For legal reasons, that was a joke.
So who knew that you were actually an unknown member of Dude Perfect? Nobody told us that. You had tried out?
Only with a shotgun. Only with a shotgun. Those guys are unbelievable with everything. It doesn't matter what they're messing with. They're good with it. But I can hit stuff with a shotgun. That's about where it stops.
I don't know. I kind of like watching the Dude Perfect bloopers because they break a lot of shit.
Yeah. That's easily. I mean, obviously their numbers reflect it, but that's easily one of the most entertaining channels on YouTube. Like, those guys are incredible.
Yeah, for sure. So besides something with a trigger, I know this is going to be hard, but what do you guys, I guess maybe as a couple, like to do when you're not running a crazy gun media empire? What's like, all right, we're just going to chill tonight. We're going to throw away our phones. We're not going to talk to any of these yahoos online.
When does that happen?
It doesn't.
Does that ever happen? So what are we doing? Are we going camping? Are we antiquing? Sleeping? Okay.
We always want to do that kind of stuff. We want to go camping and take vacations and stuff. It's just very difficult to break away.
Well, we do stuff here though. I mean, like, for anybody who doesn't know, we're in my office and I'm a huge space nerd. So
there's a giant NASA flag.
There really is. So John and I go out back a lot and sort of look at the stars. My dad just gave me a really cool telescope that he used to own. So we're currently trying to figure that all out, reading a bunch of books, and
we're trying to figure it out. I mean,
we're kind of foodies.
Yeah, I guess
that sounds so bougie.
Yeah, it sounds like really, really douchey to say out loud, but we have been to a lot of very nice restaurants and had some incredible food. We're lucky that Philly, which is pretty close by, is a big food city with all kinds of stuff. That's really enjoyable. But we do get to travel a lot, so we have seen some really, really nice places.
Yeah.
I mean, this past year on the back end of SHOT Show, we went and we stayed for a couple extra days in our Airbnb and went out to, I think it's Red Rock Canyon, and did like some hiking and that kind of thing. I think we're going to go down to Georgia. I'm speaking at the CMO Summit for NSSF in like a month.
Yeah.
And we're going to stay there, and that's like right on the beach in Georgia, which is pretty cool. So we're going to do that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to take the puppy and go on the beach with the puppy, and he's going to lose his damn mind. But yeah, I mean, travel is definitely a big thing for us.
Yeah, we like to explore for sure.
When we're trying to decompress here, though, like let's say we're here, we'll pop on Netflix and just watch some like mindless TV. We're watching like a show on tiny houses because that's interesting to us. Like,
I'm obsessed with tiny houses.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
obsessed
neat.
with tiny houses.
Yeah, like I don't know, just whatever flavor of goofy TV we get into at the time. We've watched all kinds of different stuff, from like bad karate TV shows to documentary stuff on homes all over the world. Like, it's kind of, I don't know, just chilling out,
So aside from being crazy media local people, you're just like every other 30-something northward millennial couple, right?
You just got lumped in with 30 somethings.
I did. God, I feel old, guys. Why? Kent, don't do this to me, man.
So for the record,
you feel old, and I don't know what bougie means.
Yeah.
So for the record, there is a 10-year age gap between Genevieve and I. I am an old bastard. I'm 35. She's 25.
That's not even a thing. That doesn't even matter.
And bougie is like, it's like, well, you said douchey, so I guess I could say it. It sounds douchey. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I know.
Huh?
That I know.
Isn't bougie like the Urban Dictionary equivalent of trying to look cooler than you really are? Isn't that really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, ooh, I like fancy food.
It comes
and I'm
from
a foodie, and I'm spoiled.
Oh, so it's a derivative of bourgeoisie.
It comes from the bourgeoisie.
Oh, so okay. So now we're talking. Okay, $5 words.
Yeah.
I can do this.
It's of French descent. French aristocracy was called the bourgeoisie, and it kind of got shrunk down by
bougie,
rappers
to bougie.
I'm really impressed that you know that.
I'm a nerd.
Yeah. Hey, to the nerds. To the nerds.
We love you, nerds. So, you guys, besides being known for gear reviews, product reviews, news, and all that, over the last couple of years, you've kind of turned your attention to some advocacy stuff. So we'd be remiss if we didn't hit a point and let you be serious for a minute, because you guys are fun and goofy and all that, but you have a voice beyond just like, hey, click here and pay us to keep doing awesome stuff, right? So why don't you guys talk a little bit about your voice and some of the cool stuff you've done for the gun community? Don't make me list at all. Tell the folks a little bit what you do and how you help.
Well, the Gun Collective has grown to a point where people pay attention at least a little bit. And what that has allowed us to do is try and be somewhat of a guiding voice. I am very fortunate to be kind of plugged into the pulse of the industry, both with the consumers and, gun manufacturers and things like that. I pride myself on being plugged in and knowing a good amount of what's going on. And I think through that gives me perspective enough to understand what we're currently doing and what is or is not working for us or maybe working against us as a community. Because, when you talk about advocacy, we are under attack. We have been for a very long time. But I think what's starting to happen is that the gun community is actually aging down. So normally, like, social media would age up, right? Like as a platform gets older folks get involved over time. That's aging up. And the gun community went through a period of swelling and aging down. So it used to be 40s to 60s old white dudes years back, and I think that's drastically shifted. And now that there's so many more people on social media and paying attention, I think the voice of the gun community has shifted. And what I see in large part is that folks are stomping their feet around and not necessarily getting involved properly. And I feel like that's one of our downfalls as a community. But, I try to encourage people to do things beyond that and encourage people with maybe a different way of thinking or a different perspective. And what Genevieve, in my opinion, brings to that is a whole nother kind of perspective in the gun industry as a proper mental health advocate and a young female who's been shooting for, 15, 16 years? Mm-hmm. I mean, she's been shooting longer than I have. Literally, like I didn't really get into guns until about 10 years ago. So knowing that she's been at it, kind of coming at it from, look, mental health issues do not mean that you are ineligible for exercising your rights. That's huge. That's very important to what we're doing as a whole and pushing forward. Absolutely. I mean, we're trying to expand people's mindsets to what is the 21st century gun owner and what the Second Amendment really means. We're in our house, the Gun Collective house, we're all about liberty. And I feel like that's the core of our message. Leave us the hell alone. Stop getting the government involved in everything in our lives. And let's all go and have fun and be free Americans, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very well said. Very well said.
Very strong. So you kind of built my own bridge for a segue there. So let's cross it. You mentioned the gun community and what we're doing right and wrong. What are we doing right? We, the gun community, what things do you guys think, generally speaking, are spot on?
What is the gun community doing right?
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me personally is, doing the mental health advocacy on my own outside of the Gun Collective and also working with Sarah to build Hold My Guns. I mean, like, the amount of support that we have gotten has been outstanding, like absolutely outstanding. I was terrified. I mean, it took me probably a year just to work up enough courage to actually start talking about this stuff because I was so afraid of the reaction that I was going to get, and it blew me away. So I think what we're doing right as a community is really, for the most part, being a community. There's always going to be some people who disagree, and there's always going to be some people who push against the grain and give us sort of a bad reputation. For the most part, though, as a whole, I think that we are really and genuinely there for each other. And I think that this translates over even into business relationships for the Gun Collective. I mean, almost everyone that I have ever met through John just wants to see everybody else succeed. I mean, I know John wants to see the two of you blow up, you know, and every channel that we've been introduced to that's just starting out, we want to see them succeed. And it's sort of vice versa. And that's the mentality throughout everybody that I've ever met for the most part within the gun community. So I think just supporting each other and really wanting each one of us to succeed is something excellent that is really, I mean, we're doing that right, you know?
On top of
That's
that,
awesome.
I think what's really interesting is, you know, even though we have our challenges as a community, we still are out there shooting and we still are exercising our rights.
Right.
Like we're still focused on what we do and what we enjoy. And I think, you know, while the kind of social media aspect of things allows us to rag on people for their choice of guns or whatever, I think a lot of people understand that we're all on the same team. And that's really, really important to get that. Like, we have to move as a united force. I feel like we're starting to move in that direction. And I feel like the education is starting to get there. But we have a long way to go. But I feel like, you know, we're starting to come together. And the collective mind, and I don't mean that as a pun, the collective mind of the gun community is growing and changing in its understanding of what it means to be a Second Amendment advocate. And I think that's what's going right for us. I think we're learning as a whole. The machine is learning and we're moving forward.
Speaking of the nerds, the machine is learning. We love it. So that's what we're doing right. What, you know, without going for an hour, because there's, like, I've got 40 pet peeves, but I'd be interested in hearing some of yours. Like, what do you think we're not doing right? What's that, Genevieve?
No, you said you have 40 pet peeves. I said, wow, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Just 40. So what?
I
what do you
made
think
him. I made him trim out the duplicates.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say, can I see the itemized list of that?
You know, I do have lists of things, literal lists of things.
Very excited about this.
Inside joke.
Yeah.
Inside joke. Never mind. Anywho, what can we be doing better?
You know, while the machine is learning, like I just said, I think it would be a very good thing for all of us to be a good bit more open-minded. You know, when I said something the other day on social media about having a conversation with the other side, with the opposition, and people threw can I curse on this show?
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, man.
People threw a fucking shit fit. It was ridiculous. The amount of pushback I got for the word conversation was absurd. I got called a FUD. I said, people were saying that I was siding with the NRA and Trump because I said we need to have a conversation. Not once, not a single time did I say we need to compromise. Not once did that ever come out of my mouth or my fingers.
Hey,
the interweb.
You watch that language on this show, young man.
I'll try.
Yeah, we don't say that C word.
We're very quick to stomp our feet and say shall not be infringed, but we are already infringed. We are already losing the battle. The battle is being lost, and we are stomping our feet in the ground and saying we're not moving an inch. Guess what? Every time you do that, we're not winning either.
So if I could add in on this one, I think we're facing the double-edged sword of social media, which is exacerbating that whole situation. So, John, when you come out and say we need to have a conversation, I agree with you. We do need to have a conversation. One of the things that I hate about, everyone saying, oh, well, the gun tubers, the content creators, we need to have our own alternative, for freedom and all this other good stuff. And you're yelling into a vacuum. I don't want to sit here and do a podcast for people that already agree with me. But at the same time, I know that I'm not going to be able to have a conversation with the people that vehemently disagree with me and want to see me beaten and shot and red flagged and all this other good stuff by the big, nasty, mean government that's going to come take my guns away. Oddly enough, with guns themselves. What I care about and what I think is lost in the just absolute bullshit of social media is that when people hear the other side, they're not thinking of that margin in between of undecideds, right? You've got that mom, that single mom who's like, okay, well, maybe I do need to protect my kids, but I don't know enough about guns to really, I don't hate them, but I don't know enough and I'm intimidated by the situation. I don't know what to do. I haven't really made up my mind yet. I want to be able to reach those people, and the people who are the quote unquote pro gun people who are jumping all over you and probably me after this, forget that there's more to the other side of a debate or an argument than what the media is showing you.
Sure.
Yeah. That, and nobody in the debate team ever won in high school by just slamming their fist and saying, yeah, well, fuck you. Like, you're not ever going to gain any support by being obstinate and not pushing forward. So let's talk for a little bit about specifically content creators. Okay. And I had TJ and I think we all have a conundrum sometimes. I'm sure you struggle with this as well, about how do we have these discussions? How do we push the narrative and represent ourselves well? Unfortunately, without looking like sometimes we're trying to profit or boost our own image in times of tragedy. And I mean, you stand much more of a danger of profiting off of something like that than I do. Clearly, like our dozens and dozens of fans versus yours, but it must be hard sometimes to come out and try to have a conversation about a really nasty, serious, gritty topic and just be yourself on camera and not want to lose it a little bit. And I just, for me, I guess it's really tough sometimes to wear your heart on your sleeve, and kudos to you guys for doing that, by the way. But when we have times like this and tragedy and all that, how do you guys see our role and our responsibility as content creators on one side of this issue?
We have to find a way to guide the community in times like that. Is often going, I don't know how to feel. I don't know what to think. We have to remind people of the realities of a nasty situation like that. I try. It's important for me, if we're going to make a video about a topic, like a mass shooting or something like that, we absolutely don't want to brand it. We don't want to like I'll say, hey, this is John from the Gun Collective, but that's about it. There's no sponsors. There's no anything like that, because we need to remove those things and say, look, this is me and you talking. I've always tried to position us as somebody to be looked at for information. And that means being a community leader of some sort, whether that's like the community leader or whether that's just like leading a couple people, whatever. People need to have other perspectives, and they need help sometimes trying to push back and get their focus back. And in times of tragedy, like national tragedy, it's important for us to kind of realign, recenter, and if there is a push in our direction, we need to go right back the other way. We need to be willing to stand up for ourselves, but remain understanding of what is taking place, why people are angry, and appreciate that. There are so many of us in our community that are very eager to stomp around and say, like I said before, shall not, shall not, shall not. In a time like that, that does zero for us. It's important to understand that other side is having an emotional thing, right? Like, this is an emotional reaction, regardless of whether or not they were involved. It's an emotional reaction to something bad happening, and stomping your feet around is kind of a childish move. So we need to go and be the other half of that. And we need to go, look, I understand why you're upset. I understand that you're struggling, and this is not an easy thing for me to say to you, but you're not going to use this to take advantage of me politically. And I think that's at least that's what I try to do. I try to go, look, this is the way we need to be heading. And I always offer it to the audience. What do you guys think? Because I genuinely need to know, what is the audience thinking? How is the hive mind perceiving what's going on?
Awesome. So speaking of the hive mind and the audience, you guys have a very active Patreon. You have a very active group of supporters and loyal fans and folks that have been with you for a long time. How has that kind of influence, and how's that kind of additional perspective maybe changed your mind on it? Have you ever had to shift course on something where you were like, you thought for 100% sure you're on the straight and narrow on it? And I don't have a specific, this isn't like a gotcha. I'm just wondering, have you ever been in a position where you thought, oh man, maybe I'm all screwed up on this. Maybe I got to reconnoiter and come back from a different perspective. Has your audience ever changed your mind?
I mean, they've certainly told us when they're not happy, and I encourage that.
There's a couple instances I can think of.
Okay, good, because I can't think of them.
So, like, for example, today, this was something that John, Sarah, and I actually talked about in length. It was mostly me just blowing their phones up and annoying them a bunch, but the photo that's been circling around about Crenshaw with Moms Demand Action, I don't know if you guys saw that photo or not.
I just watched his entire interview with Joe Rogan.
Did you?
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to watch it yet.
2.5 hours, pack a lunch, but it's interesting to hear.
Okay. Well, the photo that we saw, it made me angry because I understand that being a politician, you have to hear from both sides. But like, did you really need to pose for a planned photo with these people and like do all of that? I mean, I don't know. But so John posted it on TGC Nation.
Somebody else posted it, but
Someone came back and said, you know, as a politician, he needs to hear from all of his constituents, basically. So that was something that we hadn't thought of. And John was like, oh, okay, that's actually kind of a good point. Maybe he wasn't doing anything malicious. Maybe he was just meeting with people because he had to, given his position and his job. Which, I mean, like, in my head, that still doesn't make it okay. But, you know, it was a good point. So it made us reconsider how angry we were about it. And, you know, there's been a couple of other times, you know, for example, I don't know how many people saw it or if it's even okay for me to mention it here, but I'm going to anyways. That post you made about the NRA, but then took down.
I don't even remember what it was.
There was when the NRA was kind of first starting to implode, John and I think Iraq Veteran made a post as well, and Mr. Guns and Gear, or was it Military Arms Channel?
Tim.
One of them. They all made a post basically calling the NRA out, and, you know, a lot of people were commenting, calling all of us conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. And so it sort of made us not reconsider our opinion on the situation, but reconsider how we were going to present the information that we had.
Yeah.
So a couple things.
Like that. I know the dark web operative thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, I won't go too tinfoil hat, but I didn't think that was all that far-fetched, but anyway.
I mean, what I'd have to say on that, I mean, you got people that are bitching and complaining about Crenshaw meeting with Mom's Demand. Two things on that. One, I mean, look on the bright side. That's probably the most people that have ever showed up to a Mom's Demand action rally. Number two, when's the last time that a group of, you know, people from our side of the argument have shown up to a representative's office? I mean, screw the photo op, but how many times has that ever happened? And I'm not talking an NRA I'm not talking about an NRA representative. Now, John, I know you guys have done stuff in Philly. you guys had a big rally up there that you were part of and stuff like that. But I'm not talking about some big protest or demonstration or even a rally. I mean, 4 or 5 people from the local chapter of whatever Texas pro-gun or local pro-gun organization have taken their time to go out to Crenshaw's office and sit down and have a conversation with him.
I know.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you, but I think sometimes they do it. They just don't post for a photo in the process.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of. I'll name somebody right now. Eddie Cutler, you're doing an awesome job in Vermont. I'm sorry I'm not there anymore, but I know that dude is at the Vermont State House constantly. They walk by and see him in the cafeteria and they're like, oh, there's the gun guy. Good for him. Nobody knows who he is, but
I'm not saying that
he's always there.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that to say it doesn't happen. I'm sitting here saying that they do it more. We talked about pet peeves a little bit. My biggest pet peeve has always been everyone bitches about, the left stomping their feet and being emotional. Here's the thing. They do a damn good job of mobilizing and getting out there and doing stuff more often and in far more locations than we do.
Yeah, they literally.
It's amazing what you can do with extra funding.
Well, yeah, a big green injection from people like Bloomberg will do that. But hey, I hear Wayne LaPierre's house is beautiful in the summer.
No, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
But yeah, but here's the thing. No, here's the thing, and I'll close off my rant with this part. Those that haven't seen it yet, here in Tennessee, the family at large for T-Rex Arms recently went and spent the past couple of months working on getting a bill passed through our state legislature to remove the tax on ammunition here in Tennessee.
Cool.
By themselves. They said in total, with parking and fees and everything like that, over the course of I think 3 or 4 months, it cost them all of about $10,000 out of pocket. Just to prove, if for nothing else, just to prove that it can be done. That you don't need a major organization to do this. You just need the willpower and a little bit of motivation to go do it. Yeah, John, I'll bow down to that point all day long. A good injection from a multi-billionaire to get people out, to get them to take the time off of work to go do that sort of stuff. Yeah, that helps a lot, but it's not necessary.
I want to shout somebody out if I can.
No.
Yeah, by all means.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
So somebody who's been supporting me since like the first post that I ever made on Beyond the Unknown, Chris Binkley, he actually literally printed out the main legislation for yellow paper laws and all of Sarah and I's information for Hold My Guns and physically put them in an envelope and handed them to Dan Crenshaw about a week ago. And we are expecting him to follow up with us about all of that stuff pretty soon. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him because that's the type of stuff that people need to be doing more. And I do agree with you, TJ, that we're not doing that nearly enough. But I mean, if you think about it, that one person, Chris, could have just changed the course of all of these proposed gun laws for the entire United States. It's crazy
absolutely.
what one person can do. So I know Sarah does as well, really appreciates that he did that. And I think we need to be doing more of that because it can really make a huge difference.
By the way,
awesome.
And speaking of Sarah, and Ken, I'll turn it back over to you here in a second. Speaking of Sarah, of course, she's joined us in the comments. Hello, Sarah. We heart you. But there is a link. There is a link in the description of this video for holdmyguns.org, their GoFundMe page. That is a organization and a cause that Kent and I are very passionate about. We're happy to support Genevieve and Sarah on. So we wholeheartedly appreciate you guys for everything that y'all are doing. And again, the link is in the description. Go donate. We're almost at the $5,000 mark. Are you guys not?
Last time I checked, we were at 48 something. So we literally have less than $200 to be completely funded. So if anyone's listening that has donated, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for believing in us and what we're trying to do. Yeah, I know. No.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we can all say. Well, didn't you?
Yeah, I know. Everybody here is no problem. I got you.
Yeah, we got you, fam. We did that. So, this is a topic, and like if you just want to throw your hands up on this one and say I have no effing idea, I wouldn't blame you, because I have no effing idea. But where the gun lobby is going with the total grenades dropping everywhere at the NRA, what do you? I mean, are we going to have to start something new, or are we going to be able to rally and rectify what's left over there? I mean, where do you see the future of a national gun lobby going within the next decade? What do you think?
That's all you, babe.
So I spoke to somebody earlier today. I won't say who, but I spoke to somebody. I said, "What's going to happen now that Wayne is? Yeah, everybody's leaving, and Wayne is going to go unchecked." And he was like, "He's been unchecked. like nobody has checked him for a long time." The reality is, we needed to start something new 10 years ago, and we are SOL right now.
Yeah,
there is no possible way to there's this weird thing in the gun industry, and I don't know where I think I have ideas of where it started, but people have been saying things like, screw the NRA, go GOA, as if, one, we can magically flip a switch and millions of people are suddenly going to switch their donations to an organization that does not have the infrastructure or lobbying power that the NRA has. Like, we're just going to flip a switch and suddenly it's going to fix everything. No, that's stupid. One organization is not going to be our savior. It won't happen. But I think what we are being forced to do is find alternative solutions. The NRA is a crap show. Like, it's just, oh my God, the rabbit hole that they have created. I mean, to watch all of the rats trying to patch a sinking ship is effing hilarious. Like, watching Marion Hammer and Willis Lee try to forgive Wayne LaPierre for spending tens of thousands of dollars on suits. I mean, Marion Hammer could have been using that money for her cats, and it would have been a little bit more forgivable than spending that much money on a freaking suit.
Does she have cats?
She has, like, there's images of her. If you Google Marion Hammer, it's a picture of her and a cat. Like, she's a weird looking old creepy lady. And that's not meant to be a personal attack. She just looks weird.
Yeah, okay.
No, she looks like a Saturday Night Live character.
Yeah, she is like a caricature of whatever she is. I don't even know how to describe it. She's like a grandma that never had grandkids besides cats. It's really strange.
If we cloned a lunch lady and an assistant vice principal,
and a gym teacher and a cat lady.
Yeah, Karen. I think that's a good.
Her name's Marion. Come on,
that's actually just as bad.
But, all right, so back to the point. The NRA is falling apart at the seams. If people have not pulled their funding yet, it is time to pull funding. It is time. It's been time. I was one of the people that was like, look, we need them. This is a big shield, and it still is. But with Wayne LaPierre at the helm, that ship is sinking fast.
So you do believe it's time to pull out money and stop further donations?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lawsuit. I don't remember the guy's name, but there's a lawsuit either against Wayne LaPierre or the NRA or both from one of their largest donors, like multi-million-dollar donor.
They were doing marketing, right?
No. This is a different guy.
Oh.
The Ackerman McQueen thing's a totally different story, and that rabbit hole goes really deep too. But people need to pull their funding. What I really want to see is the goddamn gun industry pull the funding. I want to see Smith & Wesson. I want to see Springfield. I want to see Glock. All these brands pull the freaking funding, because right now they're being complicit to this bullshit that's happening. They're like, oh, okay, well, maybe he's okay, and we need the no. You cannot be complicit right now with all of the data, with all of the intel that we have. Taking one dude's opinion, saying, no, guys, it's totally fine. I didn't just take your money and spend it on a house. F him. It's done.
Yeah, that was something that was kind of surprising to me at the NRA annual meeting. It was like the tension was there, Like, it was my first time in that environment. You know, luckily I got to meet you guys during that time. But one of the things, while I'm trying to go around and do these interviews with all these different manufacturers and small mom and pop operations, I could feel the tension in the air, and nobody was talking about it, with the exception of Ted Nugent, and I think I saw Rob Pincus running around when he did his thing, when he made that grandstand at what was it, the big meeting they had. The formal term for those meetings are escaping me. But yeah,
it's the members meeting is what you're referencing. But
yeah, the members meeting.
I
But
think,
yeah, like the tension was there, but it was like none of the manufacturers were talking about it. Nobody was. It was like
right.
It was like Dad just punched Mom for burning the turkey, and the kids didn't see shit.
Well, the gun industry is in a tough position because to be at that show is to be connected with consumers. That is a huge, huge show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like that's, in my opinion, that's the number 2 show of the year for the gun industry. Like in terms of size and power that comes from it. But by being there, you're supporting in certain terms what the NRA is doing. I mean, we go there, we're there every year putting on an event right next door. You know what? Like we're having an event. And for me, it's even harder because I don't want to support the current version of the NRA with Wayne LaPierre at the helm, but I want to be where the audience is. And the same goes for all these gun companies. They want to be where the consumers are. So it's almost as if like, just don't look at it and it won't come true kind of thing. Like just don't worry about it. The T-Rex, if it doesn't see you, it won't be a problem kind of thing. I think that's kind of the problem that we're all facing. It's like, what do we do? Like, I really don't want to support the NRA by being near their event. Right. But if there's going to be thousands of people there, we kind of have to have our annual event at that. So it's very difficult. You know, we've talked about maybe like, do we have it somewhere else, some other time of the year? Do we try and like put our own things separate? Like, what do we do? I don't know. I wish I had the answers. I wish it was just like, yeah, that's the thing we do.
Yeah.
But it's a complex thing. Like last year, to put on the event, we spent multi thousands of dollars. It was tens of thousands of dollars to put that event on last year.
Mm-hmm.
And with that kind of investment, I mean, we're already looking at venues for next year. Like this is a thing. Like if we book a venue and spend, you know, $10,000-$15,000 to book a huge venue to fit all these people and put on this event, and then Wayne LaPierre does something really stupid, we could lose thousands. And we are small fish, let alone like a huge company. I can't imagine what it's like trying to do that. You know, me barking at Smith & Wesson saying, pull your money is very easy for me to do. But the challenging thing is to make that decision on their end.
Oh yeah. When there's millions of dollars on the line, it's not, I mean, I take part in business meetings and deals and proposals all the time that are, you know, in the tens of millions of dollar range. And everyone's, you know, I remember the first time I went to one of those big presentations and I spoke my piece, and we get back and, you know, we blew them out of the water. The client was very impressed. But we were like, hey, it's been a few weeks. Have we heard anything yet? And my boss was like, hey man, listen, if you were to spend like $10 million on something, would you make that decision in 5 days or a week or 2 weeks? No, you would take some time and think about it. That's all they're doing. So don't, you didn't do anything wrong or whatever have you. But yeah, that's the kind of decisions that people are dealing with.
Yeah, and you know, we're very quick to shout at them. You know, I mean, look how quickly I just did it.
Yeah, I'm deaf in my left ear now.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I've been physically abused in the ear.
Yeah.
Come on, Billy Madison reference. John, come on, don't leave me hanging. You got the Billy Madison reference, right? No.
The Swan is better. No, it's Stop Looking at Me, Swan shampoo is better.
Yes.
Nudie Magazine Day. Now, the point is, I was very quick to accuse them and throw mud their way, but you're right. Like, that is not an easy decision to make. I have no idea what their donations look like. You know, I don't know how much these big brands are donating, but it's certainly not a small amount.
Well, let's look at it on the opposite side of it. Instead of just the relationship, not just the value that Smith and and we're using Smith and Wesson as an example here. I mean, they are one of the largest gun companies on the planet, but
Yeah.
it's not necessarily their connection and what they're providing to the NRA, but maybe necessarily the transverse, what the NRA is providing to them. You do still have a army of religiously devout followers of the NRA. And we're talking people that will never buy another Smith & Wesson again if they went and gave the big middle finger to Wayne LaPierre and the NRA as a whole. So there's more than just the potential, oh, we're going to pull our donations and stuff. Like, there could be significant losses on the opposite side of that too.
You know, I think it wasn't until these stories from New York and all this funding stuff, you know, people in the community that we're in, the content creator, the gun tuber space, like the enthusiast community knew about the NRA stuff, right? But it wasn't until these articles started coming out that, you know, things started really going sideways for them. So I think in large part, these devout people that you're talking about don't even know what's happening.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
Either that or it's la plugged ears.
Which is the same with a lot of issues. Not just
that's
issues.
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I think this goes back to what we were talking about with the, you know, being able to flip a switch. You can't inform all these people. The NRA is not going to put something out to all their membership that says, hey, we screwed up. They're going to say, hey, we need more money because we screwed up, LOL. But, you know, that we are in a very difficult position, and it's important. Like we've been saying over and over, it's important for people with a voice, with an audience to, you know, keep pushing in that same direction and keep everybody on the sort of straight and narrow and say, look, we cannot be worried about all this tertiary crap. We need to be together, you know? And that's a very difficult thing when we're also, I guess, boisterous in our own viewpoints, you know?
Yeah. It's real easy to solve all the world's problems in 10 minutes on the surface until you start peeling back all the layers of the onion. You realize how deep all this shit really goes and how far back it's been this way. It's kind of really frightening, to be honest with you. Because I'll be candid with you. I'll admit my own ignorance. 5 years ago or what have you, I would have told you that everything was going great there, and I thought things were pretty much the way they should have been. I could have dealt with a few less stupid mailers and so forth, but I wasn't really intricately knowledgeable about what was going on in the gun lobby.
I don't think any of that was 5 years ago.
Right. And I guess my point would be that maybe that's partially on us for being willing enough to click the donate button and pat ourselves on the back and walk away and go, I'm helping, you know, and feel good about it. Right. And we all need to be more individually involved, I guess is my point. Whether you're TGC and you have a huge voice or whether you're just some guy who's got an opinion and wants to write his congressman. And, you know, we were talking earlier before the show. So we've gone the spectrum from huge media companies to everything else. What can the individual, just that guy out there, your fan, or that girl, who's ever hearing the sound of yours or our voice, what can that person do? What's the number one?
The number one thing is they can just lavish in the sound of my voice. That's what they should be doing.
Like we're doing right now. Perfect.
In terms of reality, you know, I think the number one thing that people should be doing is finding their local community and getting involved in that. That is step one. Become a part of your own community, right? Because without that gun club or that enthusiast group or, you know, just a few buddies, without that, you can't really move forward as strongly as you might be able to just going to the range by yourself. I think it's important to build those relationships and just drive forward, right? Would you agree?
I'd like to add something before that step.
Sure.
Wake up. Like, I think that everybody, regardless of whether you're in the gun industry or not, we all tend to live inside this bubble where nothing bad happens and everybody does what they say they're going to do. And every organization protects you the way that they say they're going to. Like, wake up. Seriously. I think that a big reason why everybody just sort of stomps their feet and puts their fingers in their ears and starts screaming that stuff isn't fair is because they're not accepting the fact that shit is really messed up right now. And it is. And we need to wake up to that, because unless we accept the fact that things are not the way that they appear to be, no one's going to want to do anything about it. So I think that the first step is just really to realize that, like, these organizations and the government do not have your back. Like, there's a quote that was circling around that I really love, and it was, "No one is coming to save us. It is up to us." And I think everybody really needs to accept that in order to move forward in whatever direction they want to move in, whether it's in alignment with us or not. So that would be my step one.
I think there was a ruggedly handsome pair of dudes that had a whole episode dedicated to personal responsibility and doing stuff for yourself. Imagine that.
Vaguely familiar, yes.
I'm not agreeing with the handsome part, just for the record. I'm not going to do that.
He'll wait until the podcast is done and be like, yeah, it is.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, there was at least one ruggedly handsome dude there, and it was not me.
Wow.
Which one are we doing?
No, him.
Him.
No, him. Absolutely him. So, as you could imagine, somebody has been blowing up our YouTube comments section, asking all sorts of intelligent questions. So
it's definitely Sarah.
Yeah, well, shocking, right?
She does that when we do the podcast too, and I actually really enjoy it because the questions are, I don't know how she does it so damn fast, but they're always very thoughtful.
Sarah is like,
her brain's on overdrive.
She's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met, and she's one of the most unique individuals I have ever met. But when she is listening to something, even when we do conference calls for Hold My Gun, someone can bring up a reference and she will literally, within the time that they are finished their sentence, she will find the legislation online and like copy and paste it into the chat so that everyone is informed. I'm like, dude, I don't know how you're doing this right now, but
we need people like that.
That has got to be some kind of superpower, seriously.
So in an ode to her superpower, I'm going to ask you what I think is her best question yet, which is, what good things have come from the failing of the gun lobby? What is there a bright spot here? What positives are there?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow, that is a really good question.
That's a great question. We've learned what doesn't work.
Right.
In order to be the most effective version of the gun lobby, we need to have failed. Because if everything went perfect, then we haven't learned anything. And if we haven't learned anything, we are not better. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's the show. That's about as perfect. No, but that's like that could be the perfect. That's exactly my philosophy when it comes to training, right? You just literally answered the question the way I would have answered it, as though we were talking about teaching somebody to press a trigger. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, like I haven't failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that don't work.
Yeah.
So
look, growing a business over the last 4 years, over 4 years. Yeah. Started in 2015, beginning of 2015. Growing a business to support several people over that time period has taught me a lot of stuff that does not work. And in order for me to grow the audience and continue pushing forward, we need to have learned. You know, we need to go, okay, this works, this doesn't work. I mean, I literally consider more of my job studying people and understanding how people work rather than the content creation itself, because I want the two to come together. So I focus on understanding people. And in terms of the gun lobby, we need to understand our opposition, what the community wants, and how to make those two connect. Wow. I think that's one of the things, you know, combining that knowledge and that education, you know, self-education, that's the way to move forward.
Do you spend time looking for parallels in other industries and other? Have you gone down that rabbit hole at all and looked at other similar industries and tried to draw parallels and maybe find?
What do you mean by that? In terms of parallels, in terms of politics, or parallels in terms of like content and all that?
Well, I was thinking more in terms of interaction and content, but
Well, I mean,
politics would make sense too.
In terms of content, that's for me, like the TGC is well, I should say TGC News in large part, TGC as a whole pulls a lot from tech YouTubers. Like I watch that stuff a lot. I watch gamers, I watch tech stuff. That's the stuff that I like veg out on. And when I'm looking for inspiration, I'm watching the top tech guys going, okay, these are at the top of the game. These guys are smart, they're fast, and the content is really, really clean. So what can I, kind of steep off of what they're doing and try and implement? I don't know that there's any other community that is exactly the same as what we're doing in terms of content, because I don't know that anything is quite as polarizing. Even the the weed channels, I guess, is the only way I can really put that. The kind of like pothead stuff, that's not even nearly as polarizing as it used to be. I don't know that anything is really quite the same as being a pro-gun, like gun enthusiast outlet. So we soak up stuff from that, but I don't know that there's anything that quite runs parallel to it.
Well, especially nowadays, I'd argue that it's hard to find any other industry that's as under attack as ours is.
Yeah, I mean, arguably, we are just being abused. People will say conservatives as a whole, but even further focused in is gun owners.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are the favorite whipping boy. And John, I gotta say, man, I think probably, just to speak to content creation, as far as just clean, to the point, probably one of the best videos I've seen you do is that one that you've recorded it and you release it after every mass shooting event that takes place. And man, I'm telling you, we've got to start doing more of that stuff.
Well, that's the goal. That's one of the things we want to do. It's just that those types of videos are that guiding light that I hope to create. Hope that we can create. If we can create a piece of content that somebody feels represents what they're feeling inside, that they may not be able to articulate, hell yeah, let's put that content out.
Mm-hmm.
I pride myself on being able to speak for a living and come up with creative ways to talk. So let's plow into it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it just all goes into that bridging that gap, right? While you're doing it, I think, especially with that video, you did a fantastic job, echoing at least what I was thinking at that time. This is even before I was really starting to take the whole YouTube thing seriously. You came out, you released that, and I was like, holy shit, man, you're really, like, you hit the nail on the head with what I was thinking. At the same time, what I was really hoping for was, hey, maybe that will sink into the heads of, the undecideds who don't really know where to which side they fall on. They haven't picked up a banner or a guide on, as they say. So, man, I just gotta say, we just keep doing that. As far as the content creation goes.
I agree with you. And we need to talk about things that aren't necessarily comfortable to talk about. I really believe, like, that video that you're talking about that John did, more of that. And we need to start addressing mental health more as well, because that's been the surrounding subject for all of the shootings that have happened. It's, there's a shooting. Oh, what mental disorder did that person have? Like, that's always the follow-up conversation. So we need to start directly talking about these before something happens. We don't have to wait for a tragedy to happen to be able to talk to each other,
I agree 100% with you, Genevieve, and we would love to dedicate a show to just give you that platform
I'd be honored.
to further that conversation. We'll get that big lunk out of the chair next to you, and we'll move you front and center. I was talking about
get out.
Kent. I was talking about Kent. He's next to you as far as what I can see and what the people on YouTube are seeing. So.
Oh my goodness. That was
Kent, I just noticed while we're sitting here that you and I could almost be team same guy if I had glasses on.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys look like you could be related.
Yeah, I just need to put glasses on.
Hey, we're in Pennsylvania. We might be related. There's only 3 family trees and not a lot of branches.
Shh, Pennsylvania is a special place.
You never do know. So one of the things that strikes me about the way I just caught your like loving glance as I was trying to be all super serious and like get rather. I was trying to do my best.
I feel threatened. I need an adult.
Yeah.
Love you.
Jesus. One of the things that just came to my mind as I was thinking about uncomfortable topics, and I won't mention names, but some folks yesterday had a problem in their house. And in our community and in our world, when you're the gun guy in your group of friends, right, or gun girl in your group of friends, you're the personal responsibility person, you're the home defense person, whatever it is, and you get asked a question like, oh, what would you do in your home, or how would you handle this, or what can we do better? It occurs to me, and it just like slapped me upside the head. My answer to them is way more direct and way more to the point than I would probably do with this stupid camera sticking right in my face. And maybe it's time to not give a shit about that and just speak from the heart, regardless of fear of consequence or view or no view or click, yay thumb or boo thumb or whatever the fuck you want to think about. It's
Is that the new names for them?
Yes, those are my names. Boo thumb. Yes, those are my names for them.
Oh, that's good.
It just occurred to me, and I thought, man, I have no trouble doing this person to person. I guess is really my point. When there's not a screen and a keyboard and a phone and all that shit between us, I can sit in somebody's home and have a real difficult conversation about something super scary that happened to them, and advise them and help them, and all of a sudden, when that little blinky light is on and the world is watching, all 11 of them, it's a different conversation. So kudos to you guys for being able to be yourselves in most. I don't really. You're no different. I mean, having gotten to know you, that's a tough thing to pull off.
Well, that's something that I find incredibly important to sharing our message. It's part of the reason that TGC is the way it is. When I had a different channel for several years, I put in work.
We know
trying to grow a different channel, and what ended up happening is I went on this journey trying to kind of appease. I ended up like sort of appeasing and trying to like go easy on manufacturers, and it's not like the videos were ruined because of it. It's like I lost who I was, my voice that was coming through. And I don't mean like the actual sound of my voice. I mean, the words I was using, the way I was doing things was not the way I am as a person. And I feel like, you can ask Genevieve, when I'm upset or when I'm like ranting about something, she literally just said it a couple minutes ago. I get loud and I get passionate. And I feel like being me is the number one way for people to feel a genuine connection to me and believe what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And that's a challenging thing. And in terms of being on camera, that's a learned skill, and that takes a lot of hours in front of a camera. Some people are good, some people are not as good, some people can learn, some people can't. I distinctly remember standing in the upstairs of the gun shop that Adam and I worked at, and
me.
Yeah, that's where we met. But I was teaching Adam how to speak on camera, and he sucked at first, but now look at him. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think not so much the actual skill of speaking, but to what Kent was probably talking more about was the content that you're speaking about. Like it's really polarizing to think that there's going to be strangers who are out there judging you based on your opinion. And, the amount of times that I get called a sociopath that shouldn't own a firearm and I'm going to like snap and murder a bunch of people and everybody watch out for me, like it does hurt. Like it's not easy to talk about this stuff. And I don't want to give the impression that John and I are any different from anybody else. Like sometimes we take stuff like that really hard and it's not always easy. But what I always say to myself is, well, that's not who we're doing it for. We're doing it for the people who want to relate to this and do relate to this. And we're doing it for the people who we can actually help, not for the people that just want to be mean. Although we do take it really hard sometimes, but
we do we read all of the comments.
Yeah, and I can't speak for every channel. I know you guys are probably very similar to how we are just because you're genuine people, but like we legitimately care about everyone's opinion. So when someone gets upset with us, like we really do take it to heart. So
ask what do I do on Monday nights when we're laying in bed, scrolling through the comments after TGC News is up. Let's see what everybody's saying. See what the let's stay in tune with the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough enough on our scale. Like I know it gets to me sometimes. I can only imagine on the scale that you must receive incoming, both positivity and negativity. That would be tough because you can't not care what people think, or at least I can't. I can't.
I can't either. I'm the same as you.
Yeah.
You can disconnect a little bit, but you still you understand that those words have meaning.
Yeah.
And what has been, specifically helpful for me in kind of lessening the blow on some of those really negative things is something that Genevieve has kind of taught me. Like maybe that person is going through some crap. Like maybe your video was, or your thing, whatever it is, maybe your thing was something that they found, marginally upsetting, and they just use that as a catalyst to, open the floodgates and let you have all of their frustration from their miserable day, life, whatever. That's been really helpful for me, just being with her and her teaching me that like, hey, dude, people have rough days. And there's been times even in TGC Nation, like dudes are lashing out at me or somebody else. And I'm like, look, are you okay? Like that's a thing that that's a human trait that we have forgotten. Hey, that's another person on the other end of the internet. Are you okay? I am here. I may not be able to help you directly, but I will sure as shit listen. And she does a freaking excellent job at that. Oh my goodness. Like the amount of time somebody will message and be like, hey, I'm having a hard time, or hey, here's something I was thinking about. And you're just like in there having conversations with people and building actual relationships with the audience. And getting back to the what we were kind of leading on was having, kind of breaking down that personal wall of like presenting to an audience and presenting to a camera, breaking down that personal wall and actually understanding that you're having a conversation to a group of people, whatever size that is. That's how you get past that. Just punch through and go, look, I'm talking to some people that have a similar mindset to mine most of the time. Usually it's a gun enthusiast, and trying to connect with those people and build a genuine relationship is massive. And, that's certainly something she does very well. I try to do, as much as I can, but yeah, that kind of stuff is very challenging.
It's really rewarding though at the same time when you reach the right person and you find out that you've helped somebody just on any random little topic. It's amazing to me what you'll hear somebody hit you up and say, oh, I'm so, like for me, it's training, gear related and whatever. And I just think to myself, like, holy shit, that worked. I'm glad, that thing has 11 views on it, but the one dude, there was that literally one guy that was, that really worked out. And that's sometimes enough just to be like, all right, let's do this again. Let's go do the next one. And just keep on pressing.
So I literally have someone's comment, literally taped to my desk that like said something really nice to me.
I'll hold it.
Well, it has someone's name on it, so I don't know if it's okay or not.
See it.
But basically somebody whose daughter and niece has OCD, and they were basically like, I'm showing them your page to let them know that they can succeed as a person like you have. And it like made me cry. And every time someone says something mean to me, I literally like tape this up because I read it and I'm like, that's why I do what I'm doing. So
That's great.
It's remembering the times, exactly like you said, the one person out of the 11 people who are watching that you've touched their heart. You know, that's what matters.
Shout out to everybody that's watching live right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you guys matter.
Yeah.
Both of you.
To be fair, John and I have yabbed a lot.
So this actually brings up an interesting question or a question that I think the answer would be quite interesting to hear. So I'd like to hear, Genevieve, I think you kind of answered this already, but John, throughout, we're talking about helping people and reaching like that one person or that one instance where you were like, holy shit, everything I'm doing was worth that by itself right there. Have you had that moment yet? And if you have, would you care to share that one like golden moment that just kind of captured your heart?
It's kind of a collection of moments. We've had we've been very fortunate that there's been a lot of opportunity to meet people and just, like build those relationships. There's one the other day, it almost brings tears to my eyes. This guy told me I saved his life.
Oh, wow.
My content is not that type of content. Like, I'm not out there advocating, like Genevieve is. I'm not out there, doing the same thing. I'm just making gun content. I'm educating people about guns. But he said that what we're doing saved his life. And I was like, holy shit. It's like, to have that kind of impact is massive. And there was a guy that came to the panel this year that's a big fan. And I think he's quadriplegic.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Like, this dude is struggling on a level physically that I could not understand right now. Like, I can't wrap my brain around what that's like because I don't experience it. And, to have him show up and give a shit about what we're doing, that's really rewarding for me. Mm-hmm. I'm not of the mentality that, if we could only help one person, that's going to do it. I want to help everybody. I want to help somebody every day in some kind of way. I want to continually help a lot of people. And I feel like, whether that's in terms of entertainment, whether that's making somebody better at their enthusiast role, advocacy role, or I actually, funny story from a couple of years back, I called up a shop in, I think it was New Hampshire. And I was looking for a specific gun that this shop had that a buddy of mine put me onto. He sent a message, hey, check this out. You might want to call the shop and see if they still got it. It's a good deal. So I call up the shop, and this was maybe 2 years into TGC. And I said, hey, I'm looking for blah, blah, blah. And the guy ended up selling it. He goes, hey, this might sound weird, but are you the Gun Collective? He recognized my voice over the phone. And he said, we got into a conversation, and he said that he's utilizing our videos to educate his customers. And what that component was not something that I fully understood. I mean, I still don't quite fully understand just how much we're able to help the industry, but like, we're not one-sided. We're not pushing to the community only. We are educating the gun industry. I know for a fact that ATF watches our shows on a regular basis. Like, we're educating on a slightly different plane than a lot of others. And I think that's really important for me, that we are not just here, hey guys, you're the audience. I want to push to everybody. I want to educate all angles as much as we can.
He wants it all.
Yeah, I'm greedy. I want it all.
It's really interesting to think about the way your content can be construed and used in different ways than originally intended, for good or for bad, right? So the other side of that is somebody can take your words and twist them so far out of context and, literally make you say something that you did not mean or intend to say. That's the downside. But the upside is Oh, gee, I didn't even think about the idea of a gun shop using us as an educational tool. You wouldn't think of something like that either. So, for the record, if there are any ATF folks watching this, I love my dogs. Please don't. I love my dogs. Just don't come here. It's fine. We're good. Everything's above board. It's good. So, you guys have had. You said it's been 5 years. Has there been one of those moments where you lifted your head off the pillow and you're like, holy shit, this is real? Like, what was the time when you realized like that, holy smokes, this is gonna be a career thing, and this isn't just a fun hobby anymore. This is real for me.
That happened before we went live. That happened before TGC was real. I filmed, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 test episodes. There was a period between February of 2015 and June when we launched in 2015 where I was just like, we were on the schedule already, creating weekly content. And I showed it to a couple people. I showed it to potential sponsors, and people were tripping over themselves to be involved in it. And that moment, like that like, this has potential to be a thing. That was like the catalyst in that direction. And then I think it was within like a really short period of time, we broke the amount of subscribers that I had on my old channel that I spent 5 years building. That I think it's at like 30,000 ish now. No, it's under 30K. So now sitting at like 190 some thousand, which I thought was like unattainable. Like that's a reality, and we're still going. That moment, like these collective things. Also, it was a really proud moment of mine the first time I got a pretty sizable sponsor check, and I went to my dad and I said, "Look," and he went, "Oh my God, that's a real job." And that's the kind of shit my dad would say to me. But yeah, those like, it's not. I don't like to just say, "Hey, this one moment was the moment."
I had a moment like that though.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. The first panel when it was actually held at the NRA convention.
That was at Atlanta.
Yeah. I don't think that I actually grasped anything that was happening until that moment. I mean, like,
I remember that.
I knew what was happening, but just, I mean, that was probably the most attended panel that we have had since that date.
Yeah.
Like there was
big.
like 700 people in the room, and there was literally a line outside, like to the point where the people who were putting on the NRA show was like, what the hell is happening here?
Chris Cox walked by the line with his jaw hanging open.
I mean, that was surreal. Like just to look out, and I have pictures of us standing up on the stage with like just like a sea of people, and I just sort of stood there and like how am I here right now? Like, how did this happen? What is going on? Like, it was just that was really surreal to see that many people in one place and then be hosting the event. Like, I just
not only did you pack a room with 700 plus people, but they all came to see you.
Right.
That's the weirdest part.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to John Frazier, the secretary of the NRA, for making himself look like a jackass in front of 700 people.
Oh, that was hilarious. It's still on film if you find that live stream.
It's from 2016,
I think. Yeah.
I don't know. It was year 2 of the panel.
It was the second year. I'm sorry.
It was the second year.
Yeah.
But Genevieve and I hadn't been dating all that long when that happened.
Yeah, we've known each other for
we've known each other for a long time,
7
but
years,
we weren't dating all that long. And she drove down to Georgia. And, I kind of said, hey, we could use the help. Come on and let's do this. And I remember you going, holy shit, what is going on here? I remember it was a wild time. And since then, every year that panel is a good reality check for us because it's a physical thing. Mm-hmm. It's a good time to see the people that care all over the country. I mean, we've been this was year 4, I think.
Yeah.
So we were in.
Next year will be 5. Yeah.
I think the first one was in Nashville, either that or Louisville. I can't remember which. I get those.
Louisville.
And then whatever came before Atlanta, then Dallas, and this past year was Indy. And we're going to try and figure out some type of event like that this year if it's not tagged up against NRAM. But yeah, that's a good point. That's probably like the event that happens on a regular basis that just kicks me in the face and says, "Look, dude, this is more important than I am," you know?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing that you've been able to accomplish if you consider. I'm remiss that I don't know this. Do you guys have do either of you have a professional broadcasting or media or journalism or any of that? Hell no, right? I didn't think so. I just, you never know, right?
You want to know my background on
Just
performing was being in a Rage Against the Machine cover band when I was in high school. I was the lead man, the lead singer of a Rage Against the Machine cover band. I was in bands as a drummer for a lot of years. I was in choirs growing up, like I was a singer, and that is my background. I'm born to present information, and so I'm born to be in front of people. That's what I love doing. I love being the center of attention in front of a crowd. But
if you don't sign off at TGC News with spirit fingers and jazz hands next time, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Just for you, TJ.
I'm gonna watch too. I will comment the shit out of that video.
Please. I'm gonna do it. Like, I don't give a shit. I'll do it.
That's like going on the official agenda, actually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like add that in on Google Calendar.
There you go.
So, do you guys have any? I know that with all the crazy downturn and the nuttiness surrounding the last couple of weeks, has that affected you in any way that do you need to let folks know of any changes? Are you having problems with YouTube? Are you having problems with censorship or any weird stuff like that? Have you been able to continue to get the same reach and the same touches that you normally have? Have you seen an uptick, a downturn, anything like that?
I mean, it's hit and miss. I mean, the largest thing that's affecting us right now is Patreon being stupid. This was kind of a multi-week thing that's been happening. They came to me and said, "Hey, you can't do gun giveaways," and I said, "Okay, sure, like I get it." But then they said you can't do promo codes on any of your content anywhere you post it. And I said, wait a second, you are telling me that because we're funding through your platform, you're acting as an intermediary, but somehow that gives you control over what we're doing. So we moved over to Subscribestar to kind of bail on that nonsense. That's like, you don't get control. You're not allowed to control what we're doing because there's a little bit of money coming through your brand. Like you're a service. Like it's absurd to me that they even thought that, and I don't know where that's going to end up going. I'm getting text messages while we're sitting here because I put a video out about it earlier. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the hell is going to happen there, but that's not a great situation. It's tough for us because a large chunk of the revenue that comes in every month comes from that.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time that we're able to fund the business and pay people. But at the same time, like if one of those things gets shut down by big tech, just
screwed.
Yeah, because we're gun related, like we're not doing anything illegal. So it's pretty painful to know that, like, hey, because you are doing something legal, F you. That sucks.
So you said Subscribestar. I've yet to have heard of that until you just said it. So if people want to support TGC, they can go to where? Subscribestar now?
Yeah. If you want to support financially, go to subscribestar.com and punch it in, or you can go to my video and get the full explanation of it. There's a link on that video as to what happened, because I read through the emails.
The video on Patreon or on YouTube?
It's everywhere.
Okay.
It's on Patreon, YouTube, Full30, Instagram, wherever. We post everywhere. And if you want to find us, just go to Google and type in The Gun Collective. We're everywhere.
All right, fair. It's ridiculous that they would say there's no censorship, but they're literally hamstringing your ability to make a living. And unlike us, like this is your source of income and funding for your family. This is what's putting food on your table. We're not there yet. We both have day jobs. That's not right to mess with somebody's income and their source of livelihood just because you agree or disagree with your political agenda. That's
Well,
one
I
of the things.
I would understand if we were doing something that was, risque. But
well,
we're
no,
not.
but that's actually, I was just about to say that. That's something that makes me really angry. There's a couple of women who are in the gun industry that literally just use Patreon to post naked pictures of themselves on, and people pay like tons of money to these people, and they don't get censored when like there's probably young kids who are on Patreon and stuff, and it's like, I understand that guns are scary and everything, but you're literally watching porn when you go on here, and they're like totally fine with it, and it just doesn't make any sense.
And it's all predicated.
Do you have links and references to these pages? Asking for a friend.
PatreonGunsluts.com.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's not a real site. Somebody go get it right now. It's all predicated on total horseshit. Like, it's predicated on this disillusion that that guns are a problem.
Yeah.
Not once ever has that been a problem. Yeah. It's all of this censorship is all based on bullshit.
So now let me ask you this, Joe. So all seriousness, how much of the pressure and censorship that guys like you get from YouTube, Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all the censorship and silencing of your content, how much of that do you think is because of that organization's political motivations, or with the lack or absence of somebody actively defending us? So prime example, let me word it a different way. If you go against Planned Parenthood, let's just say Planned Parenthood's putting out videos on YouTube, which they are, but still, any one of us, YouTube goes and says, hey, we don't like Planned Parenthood, we're going to start throttling your content, we're going to take away your Patreon and all that other good stuff. And you will have some special interest group somewhere raise a stink about the abuse against that organization. We don't have any type of defense like that in the gun community.
Yeah.
So do you think it's more the political motivations or the lack of, for lack of a better term, a defender?
It all stems from money, whether it's banks or advertisers, specifically with YouTube and Facebook, it all comes from advertisers. They largely dictate what the platform is doing. If you remember back to what they called the adpocalypse on YouTube, there was apparently an instance of an ad getting placed on an ISIS training video or something, like some absurd thing where an ad showed up, and that snowballed into something huge where YouTube lost billions with a B overnight. And I think since then it's been a bigger struggle for them, because they want to be advertiser friendly, and advertisers don't want to advertise on controversial topics. So they'll kind of shove gun owners into controversy because it is. And I think a lot of what we're dealing with comes from that end of things. However, Patreon specifically, I think it's their personal views. The challenges from YouTube, I think, come from, like, let's say a video got demonetized or said there was going to be limited. On the back end, it says limited or no ads. When you go to challenge that, like every single video that we put out now has that piss dollar, as it's called. That yellow dollar sign means you're not going to make revenue on that video. And what ends up happening now is that if you were to report, if you go to YouTube and say, hey, I think this is okay, you are rolling the dice on whether or not that video is going to go anywhere.
Or get taken down.
Right. Like you're rolling the dice. So what we've actually done now is I turn off monetization. I think the last 30 or 40 videos we put out is off because I'm not even rolling that dice anymore. I don't want to do it. But I think it's a weird combination of all of this. I think a lot of these large tech companies are run by people that are focused on controlling a population and controlling the message. They're very good at it. And although they haven't kind of put their thumb down into us very hard yet, I think that's coming.
That's certainly a scary proposition. Well, I think we've, despite our tech issues and our craziness in the beginning, we managed to have one hell of a productive conversation. I'd be remiss if I didn't take the moment so we can go back in recorded history when we're awesome and somebody asks us, like, when was a moment for you? We just had the Gun Collective on our show. So, hey.
I'm the guy, dude.
Yeah. So, we're
like a special one.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
She's special, all right. I don't know. I'm just waiting for her to, like, she's gonna be from another planet, as it turns out, and she was the one sent here to tell us all how screwed up we were in the first place.
I literally have been saying that since I was 5, and no one believes me.
Oh,
I just gave her that look because holy crap.
Yeah, just saying. But no, in all seriousness, I know TJ, we could not be more honored to have had you guys on and to have had you take the time to come out here and be yourselves a little bit and just let us hear you. Thank you so much for being with us. Please do your shout outs. Not that anybody needs to know, just Google you, right? But where can people find you guys? What do you want to plug, promote? What do you want folks to know? And how do you want to close out?
So I'm gonna do two things. So you need to go follow beyond.the.unknown on Instagram.
It'll show up without the dots. But yeah.
Those are important dots. You put the dots in there. The dots matter, damn it. The dots matter. Also, stop worrying about us. Go get involved with, Firearms Policy Coalition or Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment Foundation, groups like that. Like, screw us for right now. Go get involved.
Support Hold My Guns, because that's, hey, there we go.
Yeah, Hold My Guns.
But yeah, Hold My Guns, we're definitely trying to do some stuff on that front to get people who do suffer from mental health issues or personal crisis help without infringing on their rights. So we really hope to make waves with that. So if you feel like checking it out, Hold My Guns org on Instagram, holdmyguns.org website. Yeah.
Just type in Hold My Guns.
Yeah. You'll figure it out.
The link is in the description.
The link is in the description.
Yes.
So
thank you again, TJ and Kent, for doing that.
Hey, where's that link?
It's in the description.
Okay, just checking.
Thank you guys again so much for being so giving of your time. We really appreciate tonight and everything else you've done for our community. TJ, get us out of here before we screw up.
Well, folks, you heard it here. That was episode 2. As always, you can tune in here on YouTube. Join us on Wednesdays at the same time, thereabouts, barring any technical issues where you can participate in the live chat. Be sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. As always, be sure to subscribe to my channel, Lead, Sling, and Ginger, and Kent's channel, Green Mountain Defense. And if you're new here, by all means, please subscribe to the Sling'N Lead podcast. Until next time, everybody, God bless you all, and get out and shoot.
Bye.
Bye.